Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great Minds Podcast. My name is Uri Gillespie, philosopher.
And I'm Michael.
He's also a philosopher. He just doesn't like to talk about it. Uh,
There we
but
go.
really excited to be here with you today. This is episode 4. Mike, can you believe we made it to episode 4?
That's weird.
Yeah.
This will
Really?
start to go a little faster now, though, if we do it every week.
Oh yeah, definitely. So episode 4. So we've pretty much been doing this for a month now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so today we are going to be talking about 3 things. We're going to be, first of all, talking about Stephen Colbert's upcoming final show, because that is Trump related and politically related. And then we're going to be talking about the deadly sin of gluttony, because we were kind of unintentionally covering all of the 7 deadly sins. And then for the last half hour, we'll be talking about the origins of desire and answering our question of the day, which is, why do we want? So, starting off, Stephen Colbert's upcoming final show. So, as people who are fans of Stephen Colbert know, Stephen Colbert's final show is coming up on May 21st. That is a week from today. And it is his final show because CBS, the parent company, decided that they wanted to cancel his show. And they said it was because of ratings. And it was also connected to a merger that Paramount Plus did with Skydance, I believe it was, for $40 billion. Now, Skydance is, so Paramount Plus owns CBS. Skydance is very in the pocket of Donald Trump, and so kind of CBS won't ever admit it, but the pretty much the general rumor around is that Trump didn't like Colbert, and so Trump found a way to get Colbert off the air, and found a way that technically did not go against the freedom of the press or freedom of speech in the Constitution. Although if it came out to be true, it would definitely be going against the Constitution and freedom of speech. But the way it was done, it was very, very hush hush under the table. Anyways, that's not the point. Probably about a year ago, he announced this to us. And so, in 1 week, it will be his final show. I have been a huge fan of Stephen Colbert for a very, 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 very long time. I started watching Stephen Colbert on the night that Trump was first elected back in 2016. And I started watching Stephen Colbert because after hearing that Trump won, I was so horrified and sad and lost. And I saw on YouTube, I saw the video of Stephen Colbert. He had done a live show that night, and I watched it, and he was telling jokes. He was keeping people happy. He was giving people hope in a time when there really was not a lot of hope for the future. And I just thought that was amazing. And so I admired him, and I started watching him pretty much weekly ever since then. He's taken many vacations, but pretty much more or less every week he's been on from Monday through Thursday. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I yawn every time I live stream. But yeah, really, really like Stephen Colbert. I will say, and I think a lot of people would agree with me on this, that I know myself that Stephen Colbert is very left wing. He's very biased. I do get my news from him. But if there's anything that sounds way too ridiculous or like a joke or something like that, I do always follow up on it by searching and things like that. Um, but Colbert is the type of guy who he tells jokes, but he also makes sure that you know what the truth is. Um, and I do appreciate that he's also the guy who is just like, you know what? I don't care about being PC. I don't care what power comes after me. He's insulted his own network multiple times on his show, and he's done it specifically to get the truth out to the people because that's what he cares about. Above everything, Stephen Colbert cares about getting the honest news out to people, and no matter the cost. And I will always appreciate that about him. Uh, him and Jimmy Kimmel are kind of on that same wavelength, and Jimmy Kimmel kind of like kind of like exploded and did and adopted a when TV is not PC kind of attitude. Um, After Trump called for him to be fired, and they canceled like one of his shows, and then people got so mad that people actually started unsubscribing from their Disney Plus accounts because of possibly losing Jimmy Kimmel. And so he was just like too valuable to get rid of him. So uh, he came back, and immediately you could tell he was just like, gloves are off. Like if the president is going to try to get me taken off of TV, go against freedom of speech, stuff like that, then the gloves are off. And Jimmy Kimmel is just like, I'm just going to say whatever I want on here, no matter the consequences. And I like that he did that because he very much went in line with Stephen Colbert. So I super appreciate that. Colbert's done a ton of good segments over the years. Midnight Confessionals. He did the Talking with God section. He's a very devout Catholic. Well, I wouldn't say very devout. He grew up Catholic, but like very Jesus following, very proud to be a New Yorker, because he lives in New York, and or at least the show is in New York. I think he lives in New York. But anyways, yeah, it is sad to see him go because on the other day on his show he said once the show is done, the entire set is gonna be like torn down and like destroyed, which is really sad to just know that like we'll never see that set again, which is absolutely devastating.
Also, by the way, Stephen Colbert lives in Montclair, New Jersey.
Montclair, New Jersey. Okay, so he's in New Jersey, so he's pretty close. Thank you for that. But yeah, what's the theaters in? It's not the F. Scott Fitzgerald Theater. Mike, quick look up what theater Stephen Colbert does the show out of. Because I know it. It's just blanking on me right now.
I just had it on my screen a minute ago.
Yeah.
Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ed Sullivan Theater is so iconic and so important to history. I mean, the Ed Sullivan Show there, and that's where like the Beatles got their first exposure in America. So
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah, I'm guessing they're not taking down the building, but yeah,
No, it's beautiful in there. You can. Have you seen like yeah, no,
yeah,
that wouldn't be fair to to take that building down.
yeah, but it still
They're
will be
just not going to have the show there. I'm sure they are probably using it as a venue for other shows, and he just was renting out a time slot there.
yeah. But yeah, so many things have changed over the years in Stephen Colbert. The band started off as Jean Baptiste and Stay Human, and they wrote the song
Mhm.
called Humanism, which was the original theme of Stephen Colbert that goes, and then and then Jean Baptiste won either a Grammy or multiple Grammys, and he went on to like just do put out an album and do his own stuff. And the band changed
Nice.
to Louis Cato and the Late Night Show Band, um,
Yeah.
which they just came out with an album recently too that was really good. That I heard a song from. I can't remember what it's called, but they are very very good. I almost said magicians. They're very very good musicians as well. So that's been nice. Um, so I will admit that most of the Stephen Colbert that I watch, I haven't watched the entire show. And Colbert, honestly, if I met him, would probably not be too happy to hear that I only watch him on YouTube, because YouTube does not help ratings for the
Oh, come
TV
on. You
show.
think he's really going to care that you're not watching him on a platform that doesn't affect his ratings?
Mm, I
Uh,
doubt it. But I mean, oh man, if I ever got to meet Stephen Colbert, I'd be like, you are one of the greatest mentors of my entire life. Um,
yeah.
I won't say I'd bow down to him, but like my knee would be like a 45-degree angle. um,
Nah. Blessed is he who has no idols.
that is that is true. That is true. No,
Stephen
but
Colbert would be the one who would tell you that. Come on, man. He's Catholic.
he would, yeah. No, he definitely would. Um
Time,
Time.
by the way, but oh, hey,
No, I know.
jinx.
I was literally about to say
I,
time.
I
Um
was, yeah. You carry it the rest of the way because, like, I don't have much to say, honestly. I really quite liked him on the Colbert Report, and I haven't watched a lot of the Tonight Show with Stephen Colbert just because, like, I didn't really like him as much in that style and format, so I didn't watch it a lot. But I have nothing
you
against
didn't
him.
like him in that style and format?
Yeah, of the Tonight Show, I just felt like he lost something that he had before that
The
I liked.
Okay,
But
that's odd for you to say, because the Colbert Report was him playing a character that was like over the top conservative Republican.
I know, I watched it. No, I thought that
Yeah.
was really Stephen Colbert. No, he just had an edge to him
Do
that he
we have to
doesn't
talk
have.
about something new tonight, Mike?
What? What? What
you,
do you mean?
I was no nothing. I'm just
Okay, I'm not
saying
following it.
you were saying that you were saying like I liked the show where he pretended to be a conservative Republican, and I didn't like the show where he was very left wing biased.
No, you're inserting a lot of reasons as to why I liked the shows that I never asserted.
I'm
So
inferring too much.
you've just said a lot of things I never said there. I said I liked the one show better than the other. I like the format of the show. Did
The
I
format.
say I supported what he said? I understand the satire and the complexity of it. That's what I liked more, was the way that he had the same message. He was just conveying it through satire instead of through uh directly saying it, and I preferred that. And I just don't like the corporatized style of the Tonight Show. I haven't for a long time. So it wasn't Stephen Colbert's fault. I just didn't like the box they put him in, I felt like, you know? So
True.
that's not to say there weren't some good episodes. I'm not trying to take away from your guy or say it's bad. I'm just saying it wasn't for me. And I
Okay.
didn't watch it often because the formatting and the style wasn't for me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You just took a lot of stuff from my words and then put your own twisted thoughts and mechanisms onto it, Mr. Philosopher.
Hmm. Okay.
Consider consider what I'm saying before you jump.
Jump to
All
conclusions.
right, we've hit the time for that.
We
So,
have. Good,
anyways,
good.
I
All
was only
right.
going to say a little thing. You use the rest of the time up on that. So,
I'm sorry.
why are
Um.
you sorry? I don't care.
Okay. So, moving on, we for about the next 15 minutes, we are going to talk about the deadly sin of gluttony. I've been talking a lot. I'm going to pass it over to Mike. What do you know about the deadly sin of gluttony?
uh, Basically, that it's just like, eating to fill the void. It's using food beyond the mechanism of nutrients and sustenance to comfort the pain and try and fill the infinite void of sadness in your life or boredom. Probably very often that too. Many things, all the things you don't want to feel.
True.
It's just using food for that instead of or as a drug.
Eh,
That's,
the,
I guess, what I know, like as a definition. I've
yeah.
definitely had many moments of gluttony,
Mm-hmm.
I've done that. Um,
Quick
yeah,
thought.
I don't know. Where do you want to go with the subject, I guess?
So, uh, Google's AI says gluttony is the habitual overindulgence and overconsumption of anything to the point of waste, placing instant
Oh, okay. So
gratification ahead of moderation.
does this imply consumption only in the physical form of, or could it be gluttony like consuming media and stuff like that mentally?
I well, it does say anything, the main definition of it is saying that like it is choosing instant gratification over moderation. So it's like
Interesting.
saying if I got a pizza and I want to eat the whole pizza and I eat the whole pizza, I'm being gluttonous. Whereas I could have said, you know what, I'll have two slices right now, and I will save the rest for tomorrow.
Ah, interesting. Well, yeah, I know plenty
Yeah,
about that then. Yeah, I like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So just any kind of time that you just scratch the itch or satisfy your desire, go for the short term over the
Pretty
long
much
term.
letting your id win.
So again, it's just sort of like what I described, but extended out. So it's any kind of thing that you do to fill the void, but anything you do to like yeah, to feel better in the moment.
Exactly. Um,
Yeah, I do plenty of things like that. I'm human.
but yeah, I think another example of it, just as not a food example, would be like you can be gluttonous of someone else's time if you are on a date and you incessantly talk about yourself and you don't take time to ask about the other person. You are kind of being gluttonous of the other person's time and not considering them. Um, and especially if you continue blabbering and going on and on about nothing, then it really like goes to waste, like it was saying. Um, some interesting facts about all of the seven deadly sins, along with gluttony. So there was a preacher who actually came up with all of the seven deadly sins.
Gluttony is just basically like giving desire control over your life instead of you taking it back.
The 4th century monk Evagrius Ponticus reduced the logis moi, or forms of temptation, from 9 to 8 in number. And then Evagrius' list is translated into the Latin of Western Christianity. John Cassian, one of his students, had many writings about it, and so the list came down to gluttony, which is gula is the Latin word for gluttony, luxuria / fornicatio, which is lust, avaritia, which is greed, tristitia, which is sorrow, despair, or despondency, ira, which is wrath, acedia, which is sloth, vanagloria, which is vanity, and superbia, which is pride. And then Pope Gregory revised the list in AD 590. He combined tristitia with acedia, combined vanagloria with superbia, and added envy, which is invidia in Latin. And he calls them the capital sins because they are the head and form of all the other sins. Christian denominations such as the Anglican Communion, Lutheran Church, and Methodist Church still retain this list. Modern evangelists such as Billy Graham have explicated it. So that is kind of like the origin of the seven deadly sins. But I wanted to see what is the punishment for gluttony. And to do that, I am going to take a page from Dante's Inferno. In Dante's Inferno, gluttony is the third circle of hell, where souls who overindulged in food, drink, or material pleasure are punished. They lie in a filthy, icy slush produced by incessant foul rain and hail, symbolizing the degradation of their sensual, indulgent lives. The monster Cerberus guards this circle, mauling the sinners. So that is the punishment for gluttony in Dante's Inferno. In my past studies on the different Japanese hells, in the Japanese hell, if you had the sin of gluttony in your life, you would be turned into a hungry ghost, which is a ghost that was very fat, but always was like infinitely hungry and was never satisfied. So that is the punishment for it in Naraka, which is the Japanese hell. I must put my glasses on wrong there. But yeah. So I mean, definitely, if you believe in those punishments, not a good thing to have gluttony in your life. And I mean, based on the definition, I really feel like most, like, America itself is like the definition of gluttony. Like, if you
Or
told
just
someone,
like the Western culture of,
yeah,
like,
if you told someone on the rest of the world to describe
Babylon.
America, they would give you the definition of gluttony.
So, do you believe that punishments outlined by Dante and like in the Japanese folklore are accurate?
Do I think they're accurate? I have no
Or do
idea. I've
you
never been
just
to
find
hell.
them interesting as a representation?
Well, I mean, I find them interesting as a representation, but I certainly hope that I never have to experience them. Um, but yeah, I can't really tell you if I think they are realistic because as I said, I've never been to hell. Not that I would want to go to hell.
Do you believe that Dante went to hell?
Do I believe that Dante went to hell? I believe that Dante is a fictitious person in a story.
It's the Italian writer Dante.
Dante
I don't know how to
Alighieri.
say the last name, but yeah, it's Dante is the real name of the guy that wrote Dante's Inferno. So,
Yeah, but I always thought Dante's Inferno was a fictitious work.
well, yeah, that's why I am curious what you like. You reference it. What do you think? I guess it means about gluttony, or where do you find the connection to that? Because I
Um,
think a lot of Dante's Inferno was honestly just like a reaction to the theology and the politics of the time too when it was written. You
well,
know,
yeah,
it was
I
like
mean,
the
the time that
1300s.
the time that Dante lived in was definitely related to like the origins of this of the seven deadly sins. Um, and I'm sure he got a lot of his inspiration from like reading up on them and from like the Catholic Church,
Yeah,
which
he
is
also wrote the Pope into hell to punish him because it was kind of a little tiny bit of a hit piece in ways, but not. I don't think that was the entire.
really I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. What's his name? The Pope, something with a B. Yeah,
that is interesting.
I'm
Um,
looking at it up
I know a
here.
lot about Dante's Inferno. I actually have never read Dante's Inferno though.
I haven't
Um,
read the whole thing, but I've read parts of it.
it is. I will say I've tried to read a little excerpt of it, and it's a hard read. Like all of the Alighieri books are hard reads. Dante's Inferno, Dante's Paradiso, Dante's Purgatorio. They are all very very difficult to read. Like you start reading them, and
That's
you're
because you're reading 14th century theology. It's
yeah
not meant to be an easy read.
you're like you start reading it, and your
Uh,
brain goes like, time to go to bed, time to hit the sack.
Come on, you don't casually read 14th century theology.
Time.
Step it up, bro.
Yeah, no, I do you even read theology, bro?
I don't read
No.
theology, so no, I'm
No, I'm talking about like the meme, like, do you even
I
look?
I have read
Yeah,
some theology. Uh
you have read some theology.
yeah, but not enough to be have a skin in the game.
True. Very true. Um, Mike, what would you say is the biggest way that you fall into gluttony in your life?
The biggest way
Mm-hmm.
or like the most damaging way is like I
I would say the biggest way.
uh big. I'm trying to think of what quantifies big.
Do you do anything like frivolous so much that it leads to like waste? Are you feeling like you're wasting your time?
Well, yeah,
Or
plenty.
do you like
Trying to think
eat
of
or drink a lot
what.
of something?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I could say as big. Like, just I don't know. If I get really stressed out, like I have been, then yeah, very much just like eating. I don't do a lot of drinking anymore, here and there, so I wouldn't say drinking.
Mm,
I've done a lot of smoking weed to compensate for that stuff. Not quite so much anymore nowadays, but not entirely no. You know,
yeah,
just things like that. So, but like I used to, I would say that was my old biggest gluttony, and I'm not saying that to. This is a personal story, not throwing shade at anybody who does that,
true.
but I would just use it constantly to not have to feel so bad is self-medicating for a lot of problems, and a lot nicer of a way to not, instead of dealing with a lot of things,
Yeah.
it was nice to just jump to something that made you feel a little better quick. So things like that. But I don't know. I have a complex relationship with gluttony because I think I am a very impulsive person, and I think it's very easy for me to want to satisfy, instant gratification is very easy for me,
Yes.
and
Me as
desire.
well. Me as well. I'm gonna go really quick on this because we are over the 30-minute
But it's
mark.
a good
But
transition because that's the next subject, the origin
the
of
origin of
desire.
desire.
Yeah, keep
Um,
talking about this. We're in the same ballpark.
yeah. So my biggest thing of gluttony is probably like video games and watching YouTube, because there are many a times when I will be watching YouTube or playing video games and I will say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. And then I sit there and I'm like, I really should do something today. And then I don't do anything because I just sit there telling myself I should do something and not wanting to do anything. And so that really like makes a lot of those things go to waste. And that is definitely something that I can work on in my life. I always say I would get so much more done if I took all the moments I was bored and did like work on projects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had plenty of things like that too. We're just like,
And
I don't
popcorn.
know. That's
I eat
the
way too
reason
much
I'm
popcorn.
being careful here is I guess I just don't want to know how much detail I want to get into about, my
Yeah.
darkest moments of cope. Uh, but I've had whole days wasted away, just sitting around. I don't know. Yeah, you don't even like when you're just like sitting around high all day, scrolling through short videos on your phone. You're
I
hitting
mean
your
I
vape
mean
also for like the 100th
doom
time. You're
scrolling
getting
on
nothing
TikTok.
out of it, but you're trying to get something out of it because you
Yeah.
just want to feel something or you don't want to feel
Good
anything at
thought.
all. And so you just keep going after the something, even though you don't really feel anything at that point.
Yeah. Doom
I've been
scrolling
really
on.
deep in the doing the sad, depraved, depressive, just trying to exist, getting little hits of dopamine here and there kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Definitely. I've been deep in the sadness. So,
Doom
yeah.
scrolling on TikTok is a big thing for a lot of people, and that's a lot of gluttony for some people. But also, I
Yeah.
was gonna say popcorn. I eat way too much popcorn, but I mean that's because I'm a film critic. I have to have popcorn during movies. That's
I
my
love
vice.
popcorn during movies too. But
Yeah.
again, is it like, okay, so are you going to the movies every day or is this a special treat kind of a thing?
No, I go once a week, but then I also have popcorn at home.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch a movie, I eat popcorn. And I just said that's my vice, which is actually a really good segue
Into the origin of
the
desire. Yeah.
origins of desire, and we can
All right. Well,
start
you
by
take the lead
talking
with
of
that first because,
okay, we can start by talking about vices. For anyone who doesn't know what a vice is, vices are pretty much bad habits that people do, and they accept these bad habits as okay because it helps them to cope with the stress of the day. When I was a child, I looked up to my mom so much. I put her on a pedestal. And even though I had a lot of hard times with her, we fought a lot. Um, I always what frustrated me the most about her was that I always thought she was perfect. I thought that like she didn't ever like break any societal rules and things like that, which as an adult I found out was very like different. And so I still remember to this day the night that I came downstairs and walked out to the porch and saw my mom smoking for the first time. And in my head, I was like, whoa, my mom, this perfect person, is smoking. That's not a good thing to do. And so I like asked her why she was smoking, and she knew my mom knew my mind so well, and she knew that like I had just discovered her doing something that I knew wasn't a good thing to do. And so she explained to me that it was her vice to smoke a couple cigarettes at night, and she did that just to cope with the stress of like um all being a mom every day, doing all the stuff that she had to do every day. And she told me, or exposed me to the word vice, and said that it was her vice. And so I kind of learned to understand that I have my own vices in life, and one of my vices is I like to have some kind of fourth meal at night. I like to eat something at night, um, and so I'll have like some ramen, or I'll watch a movie and eat popcorn, like I said, um, or I'll have a little bit of ice cream, and like even though those things are bad and they add to like my weight and they're unhealthy, I kind of say that is the one little thing I want to have to make the rest of my life so like a little more bearable. Um, and I mean, some people would say vices are a bad thing. Some people would say vices are a good thing, because and some people would say they're just a thing, a defense mechanism. Um, but yeah, and I mean that's kind of a good walk in into like the origins uh of desire, because vices are almost kind of like a little um tick or a natural thing inside us that like we feel like we need to do. um where do I think the origin of or where do I think desire comes from? And I want to really specify what I mean by desire here. What I mean by desire is like we'll get into lust in another video. I'm not talking about desire like lust and passion and all that stuff. I'm talking about desire for things. I'm talking about ambition. I'm talking about um and I don't know if other people feel it, or if this is just me and a few other people thing, but I'm talking about the desire for more. When I dream of what I want to be someday, my goal in my life, I want to be a famous musician, but specifically, I want to perform in front of like a full crowd at Madison Square Garden. That is my penchant. That is my that is my moment. That is when I will say I have achieved my life's dream. Um, and then I put myself in that moment in my imagination, and I say, okay, what do I do next? Once I have hit the peak once I have gained self actualization, or as close to self actualization as I can get in that moment, um, what do I do next? And it's weird that is a deep core desire within myself that I always need more. Whenever I achieve something, I want to tinker with it. I want to pull it apart. I want to see, can I do this better? Can I do this different? Can I make this completely weird and cool and wacky and fun? Um, and but at the base of it all, there is the desire for more. And I have heard that the desire for more, that it is very common in people with autism and people with like Asperger's syndrome. For any of you neurodivergent folk out there, uh, that's very common. But specifically, it is common in smart people. Smart people are always desiring more because the same thing on repeat gets boring. Um, and they want engagement and stimulation, which really that is the core of desire is stimulation. Your brain is a computer that is always trying to keep itself on. Um, and so really the desire for more is a desire to keep your brain like running. Um, and I know the desire for more is a vague idea. Um, and so I do also want to touch on why do we have a desire for objects? Why do we want to gain things? Um, I mean, the simplest example of this is money. Why do people want to gain more money? And that is because in our society, money has come to represent survival. Um, Even me in my head, going out into the world, I always say, bottom line is like I bring three things with me when I leave the house all the time. Is I bring my phone, my keys, and my wallet. Now, um, I always say that if I lose any of those things, I feel like as long as I have money, I will be able to survive. As long as I can pay someone to help me in a bad situation, or in like the worst case scenario, I will be able to survive. Um, so yeah. I will say out of those three, my phone, my keys, and my wallet, I would probably say that my phone is my most valuable object. And that is simply because if I don't have a phone, I have no way um to contact anyone to help me, no way to get home, um things like that. So my phone is probably like in practicality, my phone is probably my most prized possession. So yeah, that's really all I had. Mike, do you want to step in and say anything?
Yeah. I was just gonna pull something up really here. Do you know the
The Muffin
second
Man?
noble truth that no. Do you know I can't do the voice, but no, do you know the second noble truth in Buddhism?
No.
Oh, well, it's basically that desire is the root of suffering.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be that your phone is the most important possession.
Yeah, probably that's exactly what the Buddha said in
That's
like,
the third one, the third noble
I
truth
think
of Buddhism.
you got it, man.
But yeah,
But no, it's just that was just gonna throw that out there before but you talked a lot about what you desire, but where does desire originate and why are you separating all those desires like you separated sexual desire from the rest? I think it's all basically the same thing. Desire is kind of rooted in two things. Uh to not have something, even if you have it, to be like separate from it. To, like you're not going to desire something that you have. So like lack is part of desire. And then
lack. And I mean,
yeah,
desire can
uh,
really come from two avenues. Desire can come from
I
needing something, and desire can come from wanting something. And really, wanting something comes from you have to have a reason to want something, and that comes from a belief that having that thing will benefit you in some way.
I was trying to say that, but yeah, something to that extent. I lost my train of thought because you steamrolled over me there.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
So where were we? I don't know. Desire. The root of desire. I mean, I just kind of think that it's, I guess I won't go too deep on the Buddhism thing, but we've brought this up once before and you thought it was stupid, and I think it's one of the most important points. So but like, even the desire to not desire is a desire. And so I think desire is almost in essence, just at least to my,
No, I
what I
remember
can
that.
understand of it, is it's almost just like the essence of a human, to exist is to lack in a world as a human, um not to lack, like, but like to exist is to see things that you do not have and stuff.
Yeah, and
um
as we
but
talked about
then,
in as we talked about in the other video, um, we came to the conclusion that the basic core of being a human is I must exist.
yeah, at least to be able to understand their uh own existence. But yeah, I think that desire is just sort of like an extent of being able to because desire is, in essence, it's a feeling. I mean, you can't necessarily turn it on and off. You can ignore it and not ignore it. You can be
Mhm.
with it without giving into it. But I don't know if you can conjure up a desire as much as it's
Can I
just
ask a question?
forged through experience. Yeah.
Um, Mike, what would you say like? Can you talk kind of more about the difference between needs and wants? Because desire, I feel like, kind of branches off in both of them.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna actually kind of get back around to that, but we can go right to there. That, I guess, I mean, a need would be something that if you don't have it, you're going to cease to exist. You're going to die. So
Hmm.
breathing, and eating, sleeping, like your basics, versus wants would be, I think you get it through the same avenue. I think you have a very strong attachment to the desire to breathe, because uh removing yourself from that is removing yourself entirely.
Yeah.
So, like, those desires are linked up there, but it is still a desire in the same extent. And I've actually explored this myself, because essentially every single thing, to me, in exploring like addiction, uh, the farthest out extent that I can imagine of it, or the most abstract version of it, is essentially just any pattern that leads back to itself. Um, but like, not every single addiction is a bad one, because to that degree, every breath you take is an addiction. You have to keep doing it. And
Yeah.
you're going to start acting like an addict. If you're cut off from your breath, you're going to do whatever it takes to get it back.
Yeah.
But is that a bad thing? No, but to an extent, it's the exact same degree, and it's the same behavior. So
Hmm.
what you're doing is you're creating something, an experience that's either pleasurable, or, to whatever degree, it's probably got to be pleasurable. It's at least something that's a stimulation that you find agreeable
Hmm.
enough to desire it.
A quick thought.
That gets elevated. Let me finish this thought. That
Okay.
gets elevated to the same degree as your breath and as your food and as and I mean, I guess food is a complex one, because it's something that you need, and it's something that you can overdo it. But like, yeah, when you're really addicted to something, when you really desire it, your wants get elevated mentally to the same degree as a need, and they produce the same behaviors. So I guess, to me, observing that the birth or origin of desire is just your existence, and to be able to die and to be able to not have something. um and there was a second thing I was going to say that went along with it, but I've lost what it was. So we're just going to go with the first one. But like the need to exist and the desire to not cease to exist is probably the birth and origin of desire, because the the patterns of this space of what you need to do in order to be alive.
Hmm.
There's just certain things you have to repeat, and then that is what forges desire. Is your desire, or your the urge to not die. you know.
Yeah.
So, all right,
Um,
that's the
I
extent of
was
what I wanted to say. Now, what do you have to say?
Um, I was just gonna say I really like that you went in depth about like the need part of it. I was just thinking as you were talking, and I was trying to imagine that like the want part of desire. Want, like I said, comes from like you said, lack, and then like I said, it comes from um desiring something because you believe it will be beneficial to you. And I feel like most people want things because they believe it will make them happy. Now, belief comes from experience. And that really makes me say, well, then you could say that um, anything that is not a need, that is a want, is learned. You have experience. For example, if a baby is playing with a red block and they move it in a way that amazes them, and they associate this happy, fun feeling with this red block, the next time they are given a choice, it is likely they will choose the red block because they have a memory of a good time with it. Um, and that is really the creation of belief. Um, but like deeper than that is like we desire objects that will make us happy because we in essence desire to be happy, and that is probably a big subject for another video, but that raises the huge question of why do people want to be happy?
Well, and
Um,
another, to not get too far off too, because I have something else to add to what you said, is
okay.
isn't it kind of paradox? That probably is going to have to be another thing, but I can touch on it with what I'm saying. It's in the ballpark, like I said before. But I think it's kind of paradoxical because often, and not to say all pleasure is inherently bad or anything, because that's a law, very strong people do that. But it's paradoxical that often the things that are most pleasurable are the things that we end up finding to be good or desirable are better as a reward to the end of something that was undesirable than they are just as a means in and of themselves. Because when you just constantly turned it, like, that's why I get things that like, just go talk about smoking or whatever with your mom. I mean, I've had a complex relationship with nicotine myself. I've smoked, I've vaped, I've done chew, I've done zins, I've done all sorts of different stuff, you
Mhm.
know, and like, it is something where it's like it turns into, like when you're about to do something really exciting, like go to Valley Fair or whatever, and that build up where like the day before you're just like really excited that you're gonna go do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, that's how it feels when you're gonna go have a cigarette. You're just like, oh my God, I am so excited I get to go do this. Like, it feels really good. But then that kind of thing is like inherent. And that's just one example. But, like any kind of thing, it's another thing too, where it's like it's not inherently bad if you do it every once in a while. But if you do it like 3 packs a day, it's probably going to kill you unless you've got very, very strong genetics. And most people don't. So, like, But a lot of things too were just like things that you really like if you just constantly do it all the time instead of moderating yourself to a certain degree, end up actually you just numb yourself to the pleasure so much that you end up getting deeply depressed and you kind of get
Also,
a
going to
backlash,
Valley
you
Fair 3
know.
times in a day will also probably kill you.
I don't know if it'll kill you, but it will burn you out on that excitement. Yeah, which is what
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking about. Like if you're just constantly doing that, where you're constantly turning to the pleasurable thing over and over and over, and you way overdo it, it does not any longer give you what you want, and it just turns into a crutch, and it actually makes you feel way worse because you're just so numb to that pleasure that it's not giving you anything anymore, and without it you get really crappy, but it's not
And
satisfying
that
anymore.
is gluttony.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I'm trying to say
And
is
we've
like I
come
think
full
that's where that
circle.
stuff develops, is because the thing that we think is good is not actually necessarily good for us. And the things, no, not always, but often the things that are actually good for us don't sound or feel good up front. And then
Broccoli.
they lead to long-term things. And so that's why I'm saying like often the best stuff is like a kind of painful and potentially difficult thing that leads to the good thing instead of just the good thing leading to the good thing leading to the good thing, you know? So I think that's where you kind of draw the line. But yeah, I guess that was just the only distinction I wanted to make because you were talking about that. I think it's kind of funny that the things that we do think are good are often just the things that feel good, and they can be some of the most destructive things when we turn them into idols and into escapes. You know?
But we turn to them because we believe they will make us, they will benefit us, and that
Yeah.
belief is based on past experience.
And like I said, I'm not trying to be the person that's like pleasure is a bad thing and you shouldn't have it. I'm just recognizing that there's a balance you need to strike with it, or it turns into something destructive in any regard for anything. And so you just need to be careful about the degree that you expose yourself to it, you know?
Mhm.
I think that's why we want to fill those moments where we're slowed down and stuff too, is because we're so addicted to the stimulation that we just don't realize that the slowing down is what makes the stimulation uh, worth it. Is
Mhm.
that space in between, you know,
Time.
just like with the breathing. So,
True. So we are getting to the end of the show, and I just kind of want to wrap this up in a, as I would call it, a pretty pink bow of doom. Um, so uh, let's answer the question of the day, which is why do we want? In essence, I think we've come to the conclusion that we want because we either want to stay alive, not become brain dead, and have stimulation, or because we've had past experiences that tell us that, or that have formed a belief that having something will benefit us in some way.
yeah.
So it's a threefold.
Yep.
Nice, nice. Well, that is pretty much all the time we have this week for Great Minds. What are we thinking about talking about next week? Maybe we talk about lust next week.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. So we'll be talking about lust next week, and yeah, very very excited for all of that. That is all for Great Minds this week. My name is Uriah Gillespie, philosopher.
And I'm Michael.
Um, everything happens for a reason. We're just asking why. I didn't say that at the top of the show. I forgot to. And we don't know the ultimate question, but the answer, as always, will be 42. See you later, YouTube.
Bye.
Bye-bye.